Nintendo built countless games over the decades and they designed even more different stages for all of those games. Most of those games ended up being good, some ended up being weird, some were bad, and some are considered to be among the best games ever released. Yet out of all those games, featuring thousands over thousands of different levels, it is my honest belief that the volcano in Super Mario Sunshine is the absolute worst level Nintendo ever crafted. And that is not only because the level itself is bad. So I can already hear the distant sound of someone sharpening their pitchforks while lighting up their torches, getting ready to leave me a slightly passive-aggressive comment about how the volcano in Super Mario Sunshine can't possibly be the worst level Nintendo ever crafted because of other Nintendo level bad. But hear me out. Because this isn't just a story of how Nintendo crafted a bad level in an otherwise great game. This is a story of how Nintendo was showering in gasoline while playing with tindersticks. As I see it, the volcano in Sunshine is that one time Nintendo came dangerously close to actually burning down their entire company. So are you ready? Let's do this! Whenever I replay Sunshine, the exact same thing happens every time. I have a blast. Super Mario Sunshine is just a great game. The game is filled with imaginative levels, fun secret courses, varied objectives, wonderful enemies to fight and great set pieces to experience. But most importantly, the simple act of moving around in Sunshine is incredibly enjoyable in and of itself. After replaying the game recently, I'd put Mario's movement in Sunshine on par with the brilliant movement system of Odyssey. Sunshine just strikes this brilliant balance between moving around in a fast and chaotic manner versus slow and precise platforming. It's this brilliant mix between fast and slow movement that, at least to me, is so incredibly enjoyable. When everything in Sunshine clicks, it really clicks. Sunshine reaches heights during its runtime that very few other Mario games reach. But sadly, not everything in Sunshine is Sunshine. So I really want to point out that Sunshine, up until the volcano, is a really enjoyable game, at least to me. But the second we enter this cursed cave, Sunshine loses everything that makes it so exceptional. The whole game breaks into pieces, the game shatters, and it never manages to recover from it again. So our evil final stage is a long, linear platforming gauntlet that consists of 3 different challenges that all manage to feel way too long while being relatively short. Those are the 3 final linear platforming challenges in Mario Sunshine, a game that is actually famous for its linear platforming challenges. So what are the final 3 tests that Nintendo throws in our path? Well, we first have to make our way over dangerous platforms that periodically feature ouching insta-death spikes. Afterwards, we have to survive a dangerous boat ride while fighting against our bane and doombringer, the boat controls, before it is time to face the final challenge in the game, jumping up on moving clouds. And that's it. That's the content of the mountain that shall not be named. Okay, so we probably need a quick clarification here. The volcano has a really unfortunate name. It is called Mountain. So the thing is the following. YouTube's demonetizing algorithm really doesn't like the Italian word for crown because, and that's a fact, every time someone says it on YouTube, a kitten starts to cry and an advertiser vaporizes. So for the rest of this video, we're going to refer to the mountain in the middle of Delfino Island as Crown Mountain, because we're truly living in the most stupid timeline imaginable. Hooray! So back to the topic. So the 3 parts of Crown Mountain are an unimaginative platforming challenge, an even duller cloud jump challenge, and the boat ride that is an exercise in boredom and tedium. The boat ride is actually the worst part, since the boat controls in such an awkward way that the only way to not murder our favorite plumber is to make it over the boring lava lake extremely slowly and carefully. So I know what at least one of you wonderful ladies and gentlemen watching is currently thinking. Oh wow, that's really a bad send-off for a game as wonderful as Sunshine, but calling it the worst stage Nintendo ever made is more than just a stretch. And you know, I would agree with you, wonderful imaginary person, if it weren't for a much bigger problem. Not only is the Crown Mountain a dull, unimaginative mess, but from this point onwards, almost all of Super Mario Sunshine's remaining content is like this. Super Mario Sunshine is like a two-sided coin. You know, one side of the coin are all the wonderful parts of the game, the imaginative stages, the brilliant movement, the varied objectives. It's all the incredibly fun parts leading up to the monetized mountain. But the mountain is the exact point where the coin is flipped, and the rest of the game takes place on the shadow side of Sunshine's coin. The rest of the game is tediously hunting down all the blue coins. It's searching for, often mediocre, secret objectives. It's repeating content we already did. It is incredibly dull padding, and it is beating incredibly frustrating minigames, like the one on top of the leaf. Almost everything that happens after the volcano is a mess of a game. Let's just take a closer look at one of all of those problems. Let's just take a look at the infamous pachinko stage. Whenever I end up playing the pachinko stage, I only have a single question in my head. How did this make it into the final version of the game again? So what is the problem with the pachinko stage? Well, the pachinko stage is broken. It simply does not work. Our job here is to jump off the spring on the left and then to land in each small landing spot once, so that we're able to collect all 8 red coins. Except that it is almost impossible to reach the red coin in the top left corner, because directly above it is a trigger zone that adds tons of horizontal momentum to Mario as soon as he enters it. It's really hard to articulate how frustrating this spot is. It is one of the absolute lowest points any 3D Mario game ever reaches. This force simply pushes us away whenever we get close. It is insanity, and it takes a total of 60 seconds of playing this minigame to realize that something is broken. So the team was definitely aware of this. But why did they ship the game with such a glaring and obvious problem? Well, my personal conspiracy theory is that the team got pressured into finishing the game as fast as humanly possible, and they, rightfully, decided to put all their last-minute energy and effort into the parts of the game that are required to see the credits. The pachinko machine is optional, and the team simply never had a chance to revisit such spots in order to fix them. We can see that Sunshine was rushed out of the door everywhere. The game is way buggier than Nintendo games usually are. There are tons of small things that simply lack polish. I happened to fall through the floor during my latest playthrough. There are only 7 stages compared to Mario 64's 15. Way too many shines are hidden behind collecting blue coins. The game lacks a system to track down sad dumb coins, and most relevant for us, Crown Mountain very likely was meant to be a fully fleshed out stage at some point that got cut due to time restraints and was replaced by a rushed, unimaginative and boring linear platforming gauntlet. The core systems, you know, the stuff that usually gets developed first, like for example Mario's movement system, are realized spectacularly in Sunshine. But the stuff that usually happens at the end of a development cycle, like fixing the bugs, adding polish and building the content that is in the end version of the game, all show massive signs of being rushed. The inner of Crown Mountain is not just a bad stage, because it is bad. What really hurts so much about this horrible final stage is seeing the potential it had if it only were fully fleshed out. I'd love to play through the version of the monetized mountain that the team originally envisioned, but instead we got a loveless, rushed climax to a game that is so wonderful up to this point. All of this is pretty bad, and honestly a real pity, but this is still not the reason why I believe that Crown Mountain is the worst level Nintendo ever made. Because in order to fully understand this, we first have to make a small detour. The exact same month, Super Mario Sunshine hit retail for the first time. Another really important game launched. Warcraft 3. And Warcraft 3 turned out to be a runaway success that made the Warcraft franchise incredibly popular. There is a lot to say about Warcraft 3. For a while it was probably the biggest competitive online game. It featured one of the best stories in video games up until this point. It is a wonderfully designed game, and even today it is a blast to play through its campaign. But most importantly, the game built the base for the unbelievable success of World of Warcraft. But as far as I'm concerned, the franchise died, and I never want to have to do anything with it ever again. So what happened? Well, funnily enough, Warcraft 3 happened. Blizzard released a remastered version of Warcraft 3 that not only turned out to be horrible, but was also missing tons of features of the original game. To make matters even worse, the new client overwrote the original game. The original game lost features simply because a remaster got made. And we aren't talking about small features here. The game lost the option to play competitive, ranked games online. It lost most of its social features. It lost custom campaigns and much more. It's really hard hard to capture the absurdity of it all. Think about it as if Nintendo released the DLCs for Smash Bros. That changed the Smash graphics into really ugly ones. But the second the ugly graphics DLC releases, online play is gone for everyone. That's basically the move Blizzard made. Warcraft 3 Reforged ended up getting the worst user Metacritic score of all time. And in all honesty, as far as I'm concerned, that is an honor well earned. But this whole fiasco also leaves us with a question, doesn't it? What happened behind the scenes that a remake of one of the most beloved games of all times ended up being such a catastrophe? So just a couple of days ago, we got some new insight into what happened during the development of Warcraft 3 Reforged. And would you believe it? The game got rushed out long before it was finished. It fell prey to unrealistic deadlines. So what has all of this to do with the Crown Mountain in Mario Sunshine? Well, a lot actually, because when burning Warcraft 3 down to the ground only to salt the earth afterwards, Blizzard was actually following a brilliant business strategy that I would like to call burn the franchise to fuel the money. Most video game companies are publicly traded companies, and as such they exist to collect as many shiny coins as possible. And honestly, that wouldn't be that much of a problem. You know, in theory, companies are incentivized to make the best game possible because that's the game people want to buy. So the best games obviously end up making the most money. Except that's just not how anything in this world actually works. Just as an example, the first Dark Souls game and Resident Evil 6 released only a couple of months apart. Dark Souls is widely considered to be one of the most important games made in recent memory, and rightfully so in my dumbbell opinion, while Resident Evil 6 is widely considered to be the worst mainline entry into the Resident Evil franchise. Yet Resident Evil 6 outsold Dark Souls by millions. If you run a gaming company and want to earn a quick coin, then having a great game is helpful. But if you really want to make money, then having a franchise that people trust and a huge marketing budget, well, that's how you do it. It's an ugly truth about the business side of gaming, but that's just how stuff often works. Cyberpunk was profitable before a single reviewer saw a copy of the game. The game was already a financial success before they shipped a single copy. People trusted CD Projekt Red after the runaway success of The Witcher 3, and CD Projekt Red took all of this trust and decided to cash it in. It's now almost exactly a year since Warcraft 3 Reforged launched. The game is still missing ranked play and clans and profiles and custom campaigns and a reason to exist, but Activision Blizzard's stock is at an all-time record high. When Blizzard released the Warcraft 3 remake in this state, they were simply trying to cash in on all the trust that previous generation of developers and managers earned by building actually worthwhile games and franchises. It can be incredibly profitable to convert trust that other people earned into cash. It can be incredibly profitable, but it can never be sustainable. Trust isn't an infinite resource that grows on trees. It's hard to earn, quick to lose, and once it's gone, there's nothing left stopping the company from collapsing. Yet I've seen companies over and over again cashing in on trust that a franchise built in the past. I've seen hedgehogs fall prey to this, and bandicoots, nuclear wastelands and magical forests. It's everywhere, and honestly, it's not that surprising. The way we as a society decide to structure our economic system simply rewards making a quick coin today over strategic, complicated and really unfun long-term planning. You know, it's really easy to raise profits of a gaming company that has tons of brand recognition and customer trust. Just fire a bunch of people, make worse games, make more of them and make them faster. Double the advertisement budget, raise the company's short-term earnings and leave with a golden parachute once the company starts to burn to the ground. Which finally brings us to the silly little point of this video and back to Sunshine's volcano. The year is 2002. George W. Bush just held his famous Axis of Evil speech. The second Lord of the Rings movie is currently running in the cinemas alongside the second Harry Potter film. I am sitting in front of MTV all day, waiting for them to finally play Skater Boy by Avril Lavigne again. And Nintendo? Well, Nintendo is in trouble. The GameCube is only 1 year old, but Sony is already about to completely run away with the sales of the PlayStation 2. Nintendo needs to do something, and they need to do it fast. They need a hit game. They need a game that has the potential to move tons of GameCubes. They need Super Mario Sunshine, and obviously they need it as fast as humanly possible. The reason why the second half of Super Mario Sunshine is so incredibly rushed, and the reason why the game lacks polish everywhere, is very likely for this exact reason. They rushed the game out because they really needed to sell GameCubes. They were willing to make a compromise on the quality of the game in order to quickly make money. They greenlit something that happens to miss textures in some places, is flat out broken in others, and features the crown mountain as an acceptable last stage. For this to be acceptable, the pressure to release the game must have been insane. Nintendo made the decision to not give the game the time it needed to become truly outstanding. They decided to rush out the game. They decided that the quality of a mainline Mario game is less important than hitting some quarterly GameCube sales expectations or whatever. They decided that Crown Mountain is an acceptable last stage in a mainline entry for their most important franchise. Nintendo came incredibly close to taking a serious hit to the Mario brand, just to quickly move some GameCubes. It is that one time where Nintendo really was toying around with burning parts of the Mario franchise in order to fuel the money. Honestly, the only reason they were able to somewhat get away with it is because of the sheer talent of their developers that crafted an incredibly robust and fun set of core mechanics for Mario and Sunshine. Nintendo is a remarkable company. They usually really understand how detrimental the trust into their brands is for them. Nintendo can survive horrible community management. They can survive really weird failures. They won't collapse because they ship consoles that feature less online functionality than the average Walkman did in the 80s. They even get away with releasing a console that launched with faulty controllers. Don't get me wrong, all of those things are holding their company back. They're outright hurting them, and it is important to call Nintendo out on all of that. But nothing of this is bad enough to really drive people away in masses. The one thing that is really dangerous for Nintendo, however, is losing the trust people have in their games. As long as people are excited about a new Mario game, a new Zelda title, a new Smash Bros, or Nintendo's ability to craft a new IP, they will somehow find a way to make money. The trust that people have into Nintendo's franchises is the single most valuable thing the company owns. Tons of companies that enjoyed similar levels of trust decided to cash it in at some point. Yet Nintendo really understands not to toy around with this trust. They almost always polish their games to an insane standard, probably the highest in the industry. While they often have to cut content or features in their games at least never feel like a rushed mess. I can't think of any other company that is so careful with their brands, that is so obviously playing the long game, and I kind of adore that they do this. The volcano in Super Mario Sunshine is the worst level Nintendo ever made. Not because the level is bad. I mean, it is, but that's not the point. They definitely crafted worse experiences over the decades. It's for another reason. It is because for a moment, in the summer of 2002, Nintendo was willing to greenlight a mainline Mario game that features a messy, unpolished, rushed, and most importantly, blatantly unfun final level. They were flirting with the idea of simply rushing out a Mario game in order to hit their quarterly earnings. If they were to go down that route, I'm honestly not sure if Nintendo would still be such a huge player in the gaming market today, 20 years later. Going down this route maybe would have made them the most money 18 years ago, but it would have also been the most likely route towards bankruptcy in the long run. And this is the reason why I believe that Sunshine's final stage is the worst level Nintendo ever made. So, did it work? You know, did Sunshine at least help Nintendo to save the GameCube from being a complete disaster? Well, no. Back then, president of Nintendo, Satoru Iwata, God bless his soul, said in 2003 that the game sold below the company's expectations. While Sunshine ended up being the third best-selling game on the GameCube, it definitely wasn't nearly enough to save the console. By 2003, Nintendo already had to stop production of cubes for a while so that they weren't overstocking on consoles that weren't selling. The GameCube ended up being a failure. Not even rushing out a Mario game was able to save the console. And in all honesty, if you were to ask me, that may have been the best thing that ever happened to Nintendo, because they clearly learned a lesson from this. Not a single mainline Mario game since felt rushed in any way. So here we have it, why I believe Sunshine's Volcano to be the worst level Nintendo ever made. I hope you enjoyed this little video. If you did, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up, and maybe you feel especially rushed today and want to quickly hit the subscribe button before it hits back. I hope that all of you have a wonderful day and to see you soon. Goodbye!